Welcome everyone to today's IT news. As I said in previous live streams, we will now do them sometimes and shorter for maybe more viewing pleasure and better news coverage, and best subscribe to the second channel where in the future, if we have there a couple of more subscribers, we'll do all the more random live streams there. So what happened the last days in the IT world? So first of all, Edward Snowden of all IT fame just the other day tweeted on Twitter that he publishes a book coming sometime soon. Where was it written? So yeah, Edward Snowden, the man who risked everything to expose the US government system of mass surveillance, reveals for the first time, and somewhere ends. Anyway, so a book is coming, memoirs or something, and he is surprised that it didn't leak before apparently, so just completed international conspiracy across 20 countries, and somehow the secret never leaked. On Constitution Day, the date is right, just that I don't know whenever the US Constitution Day is, whatever, probably could consult the Apple iPhone calendar. But anyway, a fun fact, this affected me a little bit. So first of all, fun fact, the day Edward Snowden was trapped in Sheremetyevo airport, I think I flew from this airport or something, but only when I was back in Berlin a couple of days later it wasn't in the news. So yeah, so I think the day he was trapped there in somewhere, I was actually flying from the same airport. And also another fun fact, so my amazing German passport, this is a new one, so this is brand new production, and why do I have a very new one? So the whole situation, some people think I look a little bit like him, but you don't need to be frightened, I'm not him. Anyway, so this affected me, well, not only it affected all of us, and certainly he's sitting probably allegedly in Moscow, probably the most, but it affected my travel, right? So sometimes I fly to Moscow and I have a brand new passport because the old passport from 8 years ago or 7 was a priority production, because 7 years ago my passport was expired. I didn't have a passport because usually I don't need it, only flying to Russia, US and wherever. Like, so in the EU I don't need a passport. And then 7 years ago partners called me like, yeah, we need you next week in Taiwan. So okay, could have told me earlier. So I rushed to the government and had some priority production in 5 days or something. We need to pay extra for this, some 20 euro or something. And the problem with that, I didn't know back at that time, but here's this laminated plastic card, and this priority production was somehow different. And so what happened is, after a couple of years, it started to fall apart. And how is this related to the Snowden story? So each time, so I had a falling apart passport, so $20 more spent and strange production. So each time I was flying the last years, they really took, I never saw this, so each time at the Russian border, they started to take some microscope out and some UV light and looked at under the microscope. And yeah, each time I was wondering, like, when do they bring me to some investigation room? But yeah, nothing really happened, just that it became so annoying that I actually got a new passport just because the old one was falling apart. Just a little bit fun fact of life stories, how things like this, not only certainly all the mass surveillance also, but yeah, better not look like him anyway. Certainly on pre-order, certainly curious what he's writing there, and leave me in the comments below what you think about him. Should he be awarded some medal? Is he a hero, or do you have other thoughts about that? In more amazing IT news, Nanosheet transistors is the next or maybe last step in Moore's law. So they are scheduled to have 3 nanometer node apparently, which, like, wait a second, this some stream keeps yeah, so much to Doxis. This is hilarious. I hope the audio is not too broken. Yeah, 13% drop frames, so much to streaming from AMD Ryzen, not TG3, and yet even it's with the reducers is hilarious. Yeah, we have here 50 Mbit upstream cable DOCSIS, and this is not reliably amazing. Let's lower the bitrate to 4.5 mbit here on the fly. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. Let's see if this... anyway, so yeah, 3 nanometers. So I wonder how fast this will be. How fast this... Yeah, 87, 20, 18. Yeah, the last days... the last day's DOCSIS cable was surprisingly good, but there you see, this is not something of our equipment here, right? Same equipment and only upgraded 64 gigabyte memory, and not that the memory would have anything to do with it, but yeah, DOCSIS cable, it's probably time to get some fiber optics here. Oops. So, yeah, new process nodes, well, they're writing maybe the last, always like maybe the last or whatever, but you wonder how long Intel struggled with, what is it, 7 nanometer or is it 10? Or I start to lose overview. Anyway, this is mostly marketing stuff anyway, because you can't compare. They measure, Intel measures like more gate sizes, and TSMC measures more like something smaller in just some transistor, I don't know, something, or just... Anyway, so all the process nodes are not as comparable anyway, and you really wonder, given Intel's track record here, I would not bet that this actually comes really to market as soon as 2021, but we can still hope and dream. There you have it. Also, yes, certainly, by the way, we need more silicon manufacturers, because right now Intel and TSMC are probably the nearly only like very low process node competing. I mean, Global Foundry mostly cancelled all those new silicon fabrication processes. They basically only produce, what is it, 12 nanometer or something. They are, I think they cancelled for the most part the investment in this. So certainly not an amazing outlook for the future here if we only have Intel and TSMC, and Intel certainly mostly manufacturing for themselves. So yeah, but this stuff is of course highly expensive, right? This fabs and stuff are easily multiple billions, and then like Intel, you're even struggling to get the latest process nodes. So yeah, but new stuff is coming. Also, you wonder, we had this in previous news, we had this tree state, or is it tree, not tree state, anyway, some tree state is something else, but like 3-bit something instead of 2-state, 3-state. I think it was 3-state logic or something of Samsung research. Certainly, because we are approaching the physical limits, right? There are so many atoms you need for making up your logic gates, and certainly if we want to advance there in the 2030, 40, 50 range, certainly much more research is needed to invent there some kind of totally new kind of logic implementation to shrink this in new dimensions there. Speaking about Intel, apparently it is big in the news just today on Reddit and Slashdot. AMD Ryzen 7 3700X is such a hit it almost outsold Intel's entire CPU range. We need to take this with a little bit grain of salt, because this is just, the data is just from apparently one German reseller here, e-tailer, Mind Factory, as highlighted on the Reddit for. So yeah, this is of course, but there you see the best news and the best statistics are the ones you've chosen yourself. Of course, this sounds amazing. I wish it's true globally, but certainly you can't interpolate here one German retailer, Mind Factory, to the global scale. But certainly this news reads amazing, especially for those who are into massive multi-core Linux compilation, open source compilation goodness. So the AMD 3000 series, spearheaded by the Ryzen 7 3700X, have led what looks like an unprecedented assault on Intel CPUs, at least going by the figures from one component retailer. An incredible 79% of all processor units compared to 21% of Intel. It's like nearly as if the PC sales, it was in the news for years, PC sales going down and down. And yeah, maybe because there was not really that much competition, and people did not want to spend this overpriced money for not as much advancements there on the Intel side. So yeah, certainly amazing. Definitely to kick Intel's butt there and get their innovation together and not sell us the same barely improved silicon all over again and with the same Spectre and meltdown bugs and so on. Of course, we wait here. We have upgraded the 64GB here on this box we are streaming from. And for the next upgrade, I said this before, we are waiting for the 3950X or whatever. Numbers get slightly confusing. We are waiting for the 16 core 32 thread because it doesn't make so much sense to me to upgrade to this. And yeah, this also explains this stock was, you could nearly not buy it. Of course, I was tempted just for the YouTube channel, but it's a little bit wasteful just to upgrade from the 2700 to the 3700 because, of course, it's faster, but not as much. And certainly for me, having the 2700 makes the most sense for the 16 core 32 thread part. So yeah, also explains why the stock was next to nothing. I was already wondering, do they even have stock? But yeah, if they sold like hotcake, certainly explains why I couldn't find many. Christian writes, good erected, haven't seen competition like this since K7. Yeah. So not only did we had K7, of course, usually you know quite a bit of a cheapskate here. So of course we had the K7 600 megahertz, I think, slot A. And I even have some of those here, but later socket A I still have here. You saw this in previous videos, and even Phenoms. So even because we had for the last 10 years and or even nearly 15, 16 years, we had here so much Apple stuff, even going back to PowerPC because we wanted PowerPC, and back in the days that worked amazing. Also Suspend on Linux and stuff. I said it again, I've thrown the Mac OS CDs in the trash can and used it with Linux exclusively. And from that time, then with our Exact Scan and OC Arcade products, we had here too many Macs. And due to that, we only had Intel CPUs. And due to that, I wanted to have just some AMD also to support them because I saw this competition shrinking there. And this is why we intentionally have here a couple of Phenom nodes, Phenom 2 and whatnot. And yeah, also I always said for us the performance was okay. I even undervolted them a little bit for energy efficiency reasons. And I always wondered the Windows benchmarks you also need to take with some grain of salt because if they are compiled with Intel compilers that artificially put some penalty on AMD for not using the latest and greatest instruction set and library routines. There were some lawsuits that they lost. So I also wonder in the times of Phenom and such, how much percentage would the benchmarks be higher if the binary-only commercial companies would have used more fair compilers and stuff. And yeah, speaking about unfair and failing stuff, Cisco was so often in the news. It's a recurring theme here. Cisco with security vulnerabilities. I really wonder if big companies still use Cisco equipment. And this finally came with something that I have wondered for such a long time, that they are not more often sued for all this reckless security handling of even bringing product to the market in network core markets and infrastructure that have so many even remote logins with default password or totally just look all the 20 previous. It's a recurring theme here, Cisco security nightmare, a recurring theme here. So now they finally apparently settled here some lawsuit of the even US government, no less, claims the government sued them here, agreed on Wednesday to pay 8.6 million, which is of course peanuts, certainly paid from the Porto cash register there. But anyway, on sold video surveillance technology that it knew had significant security flaws. It's of course ridiculous, right? When even the US government of all people sues the US company of all companies for selling something this they already knew had significant security flaws, when even they relied on, as per Edward Snowden's publications there, whistleblowed stuff, that those secret services all rely on all the security vulnerabilities to sneak in all your video feeds and mass surveillance and emails and such. So yeah, 18 states including New York, California, the District of Columbia joins the Justice Department in the claim against Cisco, one of the largest sellers of software and equipment. And yeah, there you see how bad are those commercial products sometimes, allegedly according to the settlement. And yeah, no surprise to me, but yeah, July 2013 disclosure, Cisco said several vulnerabilities in its software could allow an attacker to gain full administrative privileges. And yeah, recurring theme, not just once but multiple times, so no surprise there to me. In similar news, exclusive hack breaks your Visa cards, contactless limit for big frauds. There is some limit. I'm personally not the greatest fan of this contactless payment because with replaying this radio frequency stuff, RF signals, there are so many hacks, not only with keyless access to your cars, but you see even in this case, they had a 30 pound limit, contactless payments just for, you know, the security. It's just not very secure. They knew it themselves. This is why there was a 30 pound limit. And even this, so that you just can't make larger payments when hackers abuse your contactless Visa card. And security researchers even have found a way to bypass those limits. So yeah, there is a limit, and even this limit is not secure. It's like, even this limit is not secure. You can't make this shit up. Their hack, which isn't limited to UK cards, could be opportunistic crook drain accounts with a single tap, and they claim they don't even need to steal the credit card, and little on Visa side. So the biggest scandal on top of this, I mean, not only can this be hacked and then the limit is not even a limit, and then on top of this, Visa, according to this news here, Visa even says, yeah, we will not fix it, it's okay, it's fine. And yeah, researchers here, Ann and Tim from cybersecurity company Positive Technology, tried out on a personal Visa card. They extracted 3 successful payments, 30 pound. On their own cards, they made contactless payments as high as 101 pounds. Of course, these are peanuts, but multiplied with all the scammers, and you scam thousands of people, then you are easily in the hundred thousands of dollar range anyway. But it's possible to make larger transactions in one tap. The potential for significant fraud rises. Card thieves are now making larger payments than they could before, but now they don't even need to steal the card. Criminals could, for instance, take the payment from the card when the user wasn't looking with their own mobile payment machine, though a malicious merchant would eventually be caught by bank's fraud system if they use the same terminal, or even more drastically, if it's possible to take the payments reading from the credit card using a mobile phone, sending the data to another phone and making the payment on the second device, going beyond the limit, the researchers claim. So yeah, I'm personally, it's in the news, we Germans are huge fan. I read also a fan of still money, like real money, not this fake money. And yeah, I understand the convenience, but personally, there was in the newspaper some weeks ago, in some German news somewhere, maybe I mentioned this in another week, I think I mentioned this some 3 weeks ago, that this contact payment often is not even that much faster, especially if you need to take the credit card out of your wallet and then just giving some cash. It's often similar amount of time or sometimes even faster. So there was a study, like I think it was like 11% or something, good old money was even faster, so much to, yeah, it's convenient and faster, like, yeah, nothing beats convenience to just have a little bit cash in your pocket and just pay it. So yeah, let's see how many drop frames. Hey, 5% drop frames. Comments in the audience, P3 Malaysia came from Germany. Yeah, they manufactured those Phantoms in Germany. We had this in other news here in Dresden, in the Silicon Valley of Germany. I think they still produce something for something. It's a shame. I think this was a well-running fab. It's a shame they didn't upgrade this, so it's still running some, I don't know, 28 nanometer or whatever. And let's see, found out on Turian Ultra, diffused in Germany and made in, yeah. So this is also really strange. I said this in previous news. It is really shocking for me that it is cheaper, and also, yeah, Friday for Future and Environmental Friday and whatnot. This is so insane that even here in Germany, so they diffused them in Germany in the fab here in Dresden, and then they like packaged them, I think the wafers, right? And flew the wafers, or I don't know if they first cut those in dice, or probably they flew the whole wafers, I guess, and flew them, I guess, to Malaysia for cutting, for slicing and packaging, right? Packaging on the substrate and whatnot. So it is crazy that the manufacturing, and also probably they only built the fabs in Germany probably due to government subsidies, or as per usual, right? In a high loan, high wage company like Germany, they only build this kind of stuff if they get enough government incentives, probably, I guess. And yeah, it's crazy that you would think that you have it there in one fab and you just slice it and package it and it's fine. But no, it's like they probably save, like, I don't know, how much can you save for all the transportation costs, right? Flying all those wafers to Malaysia or wherever and slicing them and packaging them, and that is cheaper than just do it next door. It's like, it's hilarious. And it probably still happens, right? With maybe they manufacture in Taiwan and then fly them to Malaysia. It's hilarious. It's yeah, but the same with, it's not even only this. It's even in Germany we transport even as simple as potatoes. You would think they transport them to Poland for peeling and whatnot, or even controversy, pigs and other animals, to slaughter them in Poland. This is hilarious that it's such an environmental disaster to transport. You know, how much can you save that from killing the animals, slaughtering there, and meat production there, driving everything from Germany to Poland and stuff, potatoes, and I even read like shrimp from the sea, maybe even fished in the North Sea and transported to China for peeling, or Malaysia to peeling. It's hilarious. With this little savings of some cents per package, we destroy our planet. It's sad. More amazing is this bootOS, some OS written in just 512 bytes. If you ever wanted to play with a really tiny minimal OS, of course, probably entirely in assembler goodness, because if you have an operating system in just 512 bytes, then certainly you don't want to waste any of those bits and bytes on a compiler generating less than optimal code. Of course, our own code here is, of course, highly suboptimal, because we are using GCC for our low-level DOS stuff, where we only have 64K, which is small enough for one COM segment there. And the reason our own low-level vintage code is so highly inefficient is because we run 32-bit code, and we run this from DOS, which is 16-bit real mode, and due to that we run with a special assembler tweak to have the assembler generate this 66 hex segment size override, so that all the instructions, because they need to run like 32-bit, like kind of protected mode stuff, just not like, but it's not really protected mode, right? It's only the sizes of the registers. This makes our own code highly inefficient, because it's for sure 20% growing, just maybe even more, maybe it's even 30% growing. But yeah, for our own, here I actually have it here, but continue later in a moment with the Voodoo or rendition Verity. It is a little bit, even the 64K segment is a little bit limiting for the stuff we are doing, but you can work with that, and it's just a little bit a pity that we waste 20-30% with all the stupid 66 hex segment size override prefixes. But yeah, you can't do this in 512 bytes boot sector. And yeah, so of course this is monolithic, obviously not a microkernel. They write it here themselves, but fits in a boot sector. It's able to load, execute, save programs, keep a file system, can work with any floppy size starting from 180K. It relocates itself at 0 segment 7A, requires further 768 bytes of memory starting at 77,700 hex. And yeah, you got some services: exit the operating system, input key, output key, character to screen, load file, save file, delete file. So you have, I don't know if these are all, but it's maybe six system calls, maybe more, I don't know. This is a list they provide here. File system, stuff and starting, and they have even a couple of programs and commands like var-dir-del format enter, and some programs, their bootOS programs. Oh yeah, they have software support, FBird, Pillman, Invaders, and Boot Basics. But yeah, enjoy it. I would probably enjoy something slightly larger, like my 64K COM segments that we will have some fun with the Voodoo card in another hour here. And yeah, we had this yesterday. You asked, I think, yesterday. I only know that some people, the comments in the audience, T2 chip on Max. Yeah, I only know that because you wrote this yesterday. Don't know what he wants to bypass there, but any more informations are welcome. And speaking about that, not so welcome and last news for today is that Google wants to remove the www and subdomains and HTTP protocol specifier there on Google Chrome. I really don't like this. What do you like? As usual, leave me in the comments below what you think about all this amazing IT news development and any of those other news and this. I personally don't like this very much. I have already the problem when I, at least with Safari, that I still sometimes use if I'm not using 70-80% here desktop Linux for good measure in 2019. But what pisses me really off in Safari on Apple's side is when I copy and paste, even if I like work remote shell on some T2 stuff and I copy and paste some download stuff like what you've seen the other day, I update some packages and then I copy and paste a FTP URL like FTP : slash something FTP GNU org whatever, and I want to edit the version number away. I think because also Safari doesn't have then FTP in the URL anymore, and if I then manually go to the address bar and delete because I want to download another version, like let's say it has version 1.00 and I want to go to 1.20 or whatever the version might be, and you manually edit this here in the address bar and you delete here's the last version because you want to go to the directory listing of the project like grub or whatever, and then the stupid Safari is not using FTP anymore, and then it's because you manually edit the address bar, it's trying HTTP, which is of course usually either doesn't work or is annoying because I don't know, often I have the problem it doesn't work, maybe it doesn't do a directory listing or whatever fun stuff, or just don't have the FTP server there. Yeah, maybe the GNU server, probably they have FTP GNU org and maybe they have HTTP but not on the same URL. Maybe then the path, maybe they don't have like pub, and with FTP they have /pub, and with HTTP they don't have this top level pub folder, some nonsense like this. And this is, I don't like this when the software is, the UI is leaving stuff out and then when you copy and paste it doesn't work anymore, or it's also with spoofing and hacking, and then then often you can also with Unicode like tricks the Unicode parsing stuff to not display some stuff, and it's like hilarious. In my opinion, just display everything that is there, that you really know what's going on, and not like leave parts of this out, and then with other bugs and tricks in Unicode you can trick even more stuff away. And yeah, in my opinion, not a great fan. Also, by the way, this is only why the software become slower and bigger. Yeah, they add nonsense features like this that nobody asks for, nobody needs, and of course, this is only a very, very small thing, but this adds to the other 10,000 things, right? So it's just like this, there are another 10,000 small details similar to this, and that you don't really need, but just in total, like make your software 10 times larger, just because all over it is full with the small tweaks and stuff that just doesn't add much value and just, yeah, contributes to everything, adding up to everything becoming more buggy and more, more buggy, right? And then it doesn't work for something, and it's like, yeah. But leave me in the comments below, are you a huge fan of this? In my opinion, we should stop trying to hide stuff. And I mean, certainly it is internet work for all. You can't tell me that normal people are irritated because it says www or whatever fun stuff. Mika Scott, yeah, I know her, but I don't watch all of them videos. I watched a couple of them. Might be fun to use. What is Metal kit. Maybe I should Google this just in this second. Has it something to do with metal on Apple or metal kit? Mika. She is written how Mika Scott. I get. Let's see. Scan line. Where would it be? Must include metal. Maybe I misspelled this. Metal. Maybe not. Meta kit. Or meta or no, metal kit. Doesn't right now. What I, by the way, really liked, I really liked her reverse engineering of a Blu-ray disc player that I found really nice. Some videos I didn't like the most, but a year or two ago she reverse engineered the microcontroller on a Blu-ray drive that was really fascinating. Total thumbs up. I wish she would do more of those kind of reverse engineering. Some other random hacking I didn't like the most, but this Blu-ray player was one of the most amazing. This was an ARM controller, and then hacking around in the ARM firmware on this kind of stuff. That is, wish you would do more of this. It doesn't really. You need to post a link. So, as usual, best post a link directly, because when I Google it, then often let's see, it's a GitHub maybe. Here's something. Tiny library for tiny bootloader, creating bare metal. Cool. No, I've not come around this, but sounds exactly similar to our APM. This is cool. Okay, she has that is okay, but APM is super tiny. ACP, I would. Yeah, that is cool. VB. Yeah, this looks similar to, when has she even done this? This looks similar to what I'm about to build on here, and. Why are here no, let's see, dates, this new or old, 2018, cool, okay. Yeah, looks similar to what I started here with this bare metal DOS stuff, and similar to, yeah, VB info, I mean similar, actually this is, maybe even some, what, 11 years ago, oh no, then it looks actually older, if this is okay. Yeah, looks similar, I have not seen that, but can post, did you post, let's post this here as a comment. Yeah, looks similar to what I'm doing, just like of course we have Sound Blaster, and in a way it is similar, but probably you would need to run this protected mode, I guess, otherwise it, say even the date on that, 2008, yeah, interesting, looks 10 years older, but yeah, looks similar to ours. I would, okay, I don't like the naming already now so much. I would not call this here IO out 32. I would just use the regular, instruction naming of IO, W, IO, something that I find is more readable. So why is here some cast? Yeah, the programming style, not the greatest fan instantly here, but wonder if all the files, but yeah, sure, look, otherwise similar to what we do. Also, this might be bare metal, so maybe you need what is different. So of course there are all people always have similar ideas. What is with my stuff specifically is that you can run this from DOS, so this probably not. But I will continue to build the library. So of course here are some low-level stuff. Maybe we can even yeah, but PCI in the meantime, I have VBE PCI, so maybe not, well, a little bit more, but not. So what is nice from my stuff is that you can mix this with your other vintage and retro goodness, and because this you need to boot directly. And of course we will also continue to boot stuff directly, like microkernel experimentation, but what is nice and handy with my stuff, so you can have your Doom and Monkey Island installation of vintage stuff and place a COM executable next to it, and could use it to build utilities, vintage, retro, and stuff. But yeah, we will. So this is of course certainly can recommend this. Also, let's maybe click on another. Not the greatest fan of the coding style, but let's take a look on another file if it's the same. The casting is what I'm, yeah, also the names console right chart. It's a little bit too verbose for my coding style, but yeah, it's just a little bit nitpicking there. But anyway, otherwise, of course, huge shout out. She's otherwise, of course, doing a lot of other amazing stuff, including the reverse engineering of the Blu-ray controller stuff that was really cool. And beside from this, yeah, this is, but yeah, not the greatest. I would just call this IOB or whatever that was. I find this more readable. And also the other, what was a PCI, this casting style here, this return of return something. Yeah, but other people, other style, maybe leave in the comments below. Where was this even? Somewhere I saw this. Is it not here? Here. No, it wasn't a return even. Here's yeah, so this return, what is it even? This is really ION. Yeah, you see, I saw this is some cast of something there. You see, it's a little slightly, not the greatest fan of this coding style and slightly confusing in my opinion. I just thought this casted something, but it's actually an IO in 16, so I would just call this IO, was it IOW, right? But yeah, doesn't really fast call. Interesting. Yeah, anyway, we will continue to build this up. Maybe if I have some more time later for the Voodoo rendition Verity, I still have it here. I actually, if you're interested, I now boot, yeah, but you can, even with this setup, you can network boot this, right? If you have seen the last night's live stream, network booting this DOS stuff with a RAM disk, and then I can just edit here with the shell, edit, what we've done previously with the 386, even with the MTCP DOS TCP IP stack, and this is a pretty, maybe even, yeah, because of course you can network boot that stuff, but even, although this is a little bit like completely old-fashioned technology, this DOS stuff that I'm using to piggyback on for this testing, but the edit compile time actually is faster than, right? This is actually not too inconvenient, which is actually why I like the setup quite a bit. You probably want to watch the last night's live streams then, because now I have this transmitter efficiency client here, a really nice compact setup, slim and beautiful, not very dusty and old-fashioned here on the desk, for more professional, clean-looking IT desk. And just today I tested this, so I now got the DOS packet driver for just this via Rhine stuff. So I found this works. I tested this already this morning. And then the edit compile time is super nice, right? Because if you do this with this kind of setup, which of course you would want to do if you want to run this like DOS-less, like a real operating system kind of environment, but for debugging on this vintage stuff, it's actually quite convenient, because you network boot this thin client, which is amazing. Then you just run HTTP GET your new COM executable for Voodoo, rendition Verity, all the other stuff, and run it directly. And unless you crash your DOS, which of course can happen, you don't have memory protection, but as long as you do editing of 3D register stuff that doesn't crash your GPU and CPU and stuff, you just like edit HTTP GET, like batch file updates. So this is like edit, run, edit, run. This is really doesn't waste much BIOS post and reboot time. So pretty happy now with the new setup. Actually, can I hold this? Only need to be my precious. Actually, okay. Is it even? It's powered on. Yeah. Always holding it in the camera just for the camera views, and then you break your nice luxury vintage retro gear. Still have it here on the desk. But for the views, you probably want to watch that. So yeah, I have it still in your rendition Verity, and either with this or otherwise really slim and lightweight. Setup, network booting, pretty nice. But you probably do the Voodoo first, because with this the problem is always getting started is always the usual 90-10% rule. Getting the first, here it's reversed. Usually it is like the 90% of the work, the first 90% of the work are 10% of the time, and then you spend the last remaining 10% of the project, you spend 90% fixing all the bugs and small little details. Here with this hardware, it's usually, I found the other way around. Like with the Voodoo, getting this stuff initializing and bootstrapping was like probably 90% of the time, because then when you have first you need to build up all the infrastructure in your driver So it is often 90% of the time getting all the memory mapping right and all the offsets and registers and trial. And so usually, so initially nothing works, and then you work on this until step by step, eventually it works a little bit. This is usually then on the hardware projects 90% of the time. And then once you have the infrastructure, like with the Voodoo, we have mode setting, we have 2D acceleration, and then just filling the 3D triangles in the right registers usually is then, because we have the infrastructure, then just a little bit 10% on top of this. And the same with the rendition variety, because we need to load the RISC firmware and so on, get it going and set up all the infrastructure, all the defines for memory mapped I/O regions and the right locations, and this getting started 90%, and then as soon as it's running, then usually at least often, yeah, sometimes 10%, sometimes 90% in my opinion, but always looking forward to your comments. Yeah, that was the latest news here. Amazing stuff this week. Certainly need to pre-order the book. Also, fun fact, as much as in technology we are here, I actually like to not only work with old-fashioned paper notebooks to make some notes when traveling and flying, but also probably order the paperback just to have some good books in the shelves, and also quite convenient. I quite like sometimes relaxing on flights and somewhere in the garden or whatnot with a good old paperback material, and maybe also healthier for your eyes and stuff to just sometimes relax and be a little bit more analog again. Thanks for watching, thanks for tuning in. We had a couple of too many drop frames, 3000 something, 5.6%, even with a reduced bitrate, because today cable, Vodafone, DOCSIS, internet sucks, of course, because why should it be reliable? Thanks for tuning in, hope you learned something, and looking forward to your comments and to see you again for all the next live stream and vintage tinkering and modern stuff to come.